Shalom, young Israel. All right, y'all know how we do about this time. First, giving our praise to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh Shai. All right, I threw the hand signal up, and I love you at the same time. All right, I missed y'all. It's been a minute. I know. Please forgive me. All right, but don't ever think I forgot about y'all, because I haven't. All right. We left off in Genesis chapter 15. Lots happened up till now. Met a lot of interesting people. Sarai, Abram, Genesis, Shem, Japheth, Ham, Adam, Eve, right? So now we're going to get into our next patriarch, which would be Isaac, which was, Abram's firstborn. All right, so we're gonna move on into that. If y'all hear a little ticking in the background, it's not your imagination. I got a blinker circuit on in my car and it's still running because it's cold out here, so don't mind that. All right, so start off in Genesis chapter 16. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children, and she had a handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. So a handmaid is like a maid, servant, like that. And she worked. She was from another nation. She was Egyptian, so she worked for Sarah and Abraham. Okay, kind of like a slave, basically. And Sarai said unto Abraham, behold, now the Lord hath restrained me from bearing, meaning that she couldn't have no children. I pray thee, go in unto my maid, and maybe that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarah. So, Abram laid with Hagar. You can ask your mama or daddy what that means. I'll explain to you when I guess they figure you can handle it. And Hagar got pregnant. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid the Egyptian, after Abram, and dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. So Hagar got pregnant when Sarah couldn't. So Hagar started getting big-headed. And Sarah said unto Abraham, my wrong be upon thee. I have given my maid into your bosom, and when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes, and the Lord judged between me and thee. Meaning that Hagar started acting funny towards Sarah because she couldn't have no children. All right? And because she had one, she thought she was better than Sarah now. But Abram said unto Sarah, behold, my maid is in thy hand, do to her as it pleaseth thee. And when Sarah dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face. So Sarai went off on her, and she ran away. And the angel of the Lord found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's maid, whence camest thou, and whither wilt thou go? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress Sarai. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, return to thy mistress and submit thyself under her hands. So the Lord was dealing with this heathen right now, and telling her to go back home. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, I will multiply thy seed exceedingly, that it shall not be numbered for multitude. He's telling her that through Hagar, that through her, he was going to multiply her seed, because she was pregnant for Abraham. Okay. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord hath heard thy affliction. And he will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. So he's saying that her son is going to be a wild man. He's going to be crazy, basically. Verse 13. And she called the name of the Lord that spake unto her, Thou God seest me. For she said, Have I also looked after him that seeth me? Wherefore the well was called R.O.I. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bare Abram a son, and Abram called his name which Hagar bare Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bare Ishmael to Abraham. So he was 86 years old. A score is 20. All right. So when you read 2 score, 3 score, it's 20, 40, 60. 4 score is 80. All right. Plus 6 is 86. All right. So Abram was 86 when Ishmael was born. Let's go to verse 17. Chapter 17. And when Abram was 90 years old and 9, meaning he was almost 100, he was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be thou perfect. And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly. Now he's giving Abram the same promise that he gave to Hagar. He said, if you walk before me right, I'm going to multiply you. And Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, as for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be a father of many nations. Neither shall your name any more be called Abram, because thy name shall be Abraham. For a father of many nations have I made thee. See, so Abram means exalted father. Abraham means father of many nations, right? And I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee in their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee, and to thy seed after thee. And I will give unto thee, and to thy seed after thee, the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And God said unto Abraham, thou shalt keep my covenant therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. This is my covenant which you shall keep between me and you and your seed after you. Every man child among you shall be circumcised, and you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you. Now, some of y'all out there kind of young, so you're going to have to ask your mom and dad what that means about circumcision. They'll explain it to you. All right? Verse 12. And he that is 8 years old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generations. He that is born in the house or bought with money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed, he that is born in thy house, and he that is bought with thy money, must needs be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised man whose child whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that shall be cut off from his people. He hath broken my covenant. Now, this was done in the ancient world. We're not under that anymore, just so you know. I'm reading this so that you could get the history. And God said unto Abraham, as for Sarai thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name. And I will bless her, and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Then Abraham fell upon his face and laughed, and said in his heart, shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear? And Abraham said unto the Most High, oh, that Ishmael might live before thee. He said, Father, how is this woman going to bear a child if she 90-something years old? He didn't believe it. Verse 19. And God says, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant with his seed after him. All right? And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. But he didn't say it will be an everlasting kingdom. That's only going to be for Isaac. That's for us. All right? But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee, at this set time in the next year. And he left off talking with him, and God went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael, his son, and all that were born in his house, and all that were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the selfsame day as God had commanded him to. Verse 24. And Abraham was 90 years old and 9 when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. Ouch. All right. And Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And the selfsame day was Abraham circumcised, and Ishmael his son. And all the men of his house, born in the house, and bought with money of the stranger, were circumcised with him. So, circumcision was a big deal. Okay? You had to have this done in the ancient world as a mark that you followed Yahweh, the Father Yahweh. This was an outward expression. Okay? This was an outward expression. Now, after he circumcised everybody, let's do one more passage, verse 18. And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself toward the ground, and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts. After that ye shall pass on, for therefore are ye come to your servant. And they said, So do as thou hast said. And Abraham hastened to the tent of Sarah, meaning he ran fast, he was rushing. When these 2 men came, he said, I got to take care of them. He said, make ready 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes upon the earth. He told her to get in there and start cooking. And Abraham ran unto the herd and fetched a calf, tender and good, and gave it to a young man, and he hasted to dress it, meaning that he slaughtered it, got it prepared to be cooked up. And he took butter and milk and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. And they said unto him, Where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, Behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door which would be behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. All right? Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? So that time for Sarah and Abraham had passed. They got older. They wasn't really, getting down like that no more. And the Lord said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child which am old? She said, Why did Sarah laugh when I said I was going to give her a baby? Is she 90-something years old? Verse 14, Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the time appointed, I will return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh. So Sarah was scared because the Most High heard her laugh, you know. And the men rose up from thence and took towards Sodom. And Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And the Lord said, Shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do? Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed for him. For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he has spoken of. And the Lord said, Because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because the sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me, and if not, I will know. So he wanted to go down to Sodom and Gomorrah and see what was going on and see if everything he heard was true. So he says, verse 22, And the men turned their faces from thence and went towards Sodom. But Abraham stood yet before the Lord. And Abraham drew near and said, Wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Now you want to bargain with the Most High, right? He said, Perhaps there be 50 righteous within the city. Will you destroy and spare the place for 50 righteous that are in? So he's saying, if I find 50 righteous men in there, you still going to destroy it? Verse 25. That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked. That be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? Verse 26. And the Lord said, Okay, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. Verse 27. Abraham answered again and said, Behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord, which am but dust and ashes. Perhaps there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Wilt thou destroy all the city for the lack of 5? And he said, If I find there 40 and 5, I will not destroy it. So, this is crazy. Start out with 50, now you have 45. Verse 29. And he spake unto him yet again and said, Perhaps there should be 40 found there. And he said, I will not do it for 40's sake. And he said unto him, Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Perhaps there should be 30 found there. And he said, I will not do it for 30. Verse 31. And he said, Behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord, peradventure there should be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 20's sake. And he said, Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak yet, but this once. Perhaps 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. Most I already knew it wasn't no righteous men in there. Verse 33. And the Lord went his way as soon as he had left, communing with Abraham, and Abraham returned unto his place. Y'all hear that? He says, and the Lord went his way, and as soon as he had left communing with Abraham, and Abraham returned unto his place. So, Abraham was worried about Lot being in Sodom. He didn't want the city to get destroyed and Lot was still in there. Okay? Because that's where Lot was in there doing business. So, he was trying to bargain with the Most High to see would Lot be safe in the destruction. So, we've read up to Genesis chapter 18. I'm going to go ahead and cut it off right here. So, y'all go ahead and go from 16, 17, and 18 and keep reading it and keep meditating on it. All right? Get an idea of what just happened here. All right? And we'll find out what happened to Lot. All right? Real soon. All right? So, giving all praises to Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai. All praises due. Peace and salutations to you out there, you young Rod of Iron members. And stay tuned for the next lesson. Coming at you real soon. It's Brother Matthias. All right, signing off. Till next time, Shalom.